What's up, family? It's Caden with Urban Finance, and today we're going to be talking about how to pay off debt as fast as possible. And so we know that America has a debt problem. Okay, maybe we do have a spending problem more than we actually have a debt problem, except for my amazing millennials out there who owe no responsibilities for their student loan debt. Okay, maybe I'm just joking. Maybe a little. But you know, I gotta always show my millennials some extra love because the world just love hating on us. I don't know what it is. But let's keep moving on. This is besides the point. How to pay off debt fast. So I was able to pay off $120,000 just within 2 years. And so that's my wife and I, to be precise. But let's say you're an individual. How can you pay off, let's say, $60,000 within 2 years? And so we're going to go over some strategies that will show you how to pay off your debt as fast as possible. And notice that I said fast, not easy. If you're looking for an easy strategy to pay off debt, this is not it. But if you're looking for a strategy to eliminate your debt as fast as possible, this is the right video to listen to. In this video, I'll be giving practical strategies to pay off debt that you can implement today. And for those that are passively paying off debt, yes, you can use some of these strategies, but some of these strategies I actually won't recommend you using. But those that are aggressively trying to pay off their debt, you should be able to use every one of these strategies. And I'm going to make it clear which strategies will work for people that are passively paying off their debt and which strategies are only for people that are aggressively paying off their debt. Because if people that are passively paying off their debt use the aggressive strategies, you can end up in more debt. Okay, and so this is not the easy route, but this is the fast route. So before we jump into these strategies to paying off debt, make sure you smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to my page, and hit the bell to be notified when I post something new. Okay, let's get into it. So this is the basic, the first things you need to know. And these are the basic things. And I'm grouping all the basic things just in one quick point. And so feel free to go check out other videos where you can learn some of these things. But this is the basics. Most people already know this, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. So the first thing you need to know, the exact amount of your debt. A lot of people are trying to pay off their debt and really have no idea how much debt they owe. And you may say, what? Yes, a lot of people are scared to actually calculate the total amount of their debt because they feel knowing that number will make them feel hopeless. And the truth is, not knowing that number will make it very difficult for you to pay off your debt fast. So make sure you know the total amount of your debt. The second thing, really quickly, that you need to know. The second thing that you need to know is the exact date that your debts are due. And this will come into play with some of the other strategies that I'll be telling you. And me personally, I have an Excel sheet that shows me exactly when my bills are due, the exact date. So I know how much money is coming out of my account on that specific date. And so you will need to know that for your debts. All right. And the third thing that you will need to know and also write down the amount of interest that is on all of your loans. So all of your credit card loans, all of your student loans, if you have a mortgage, what is the amount in interest that you're paying on each of them? You need to know that. And the fourth thing that you need to know in the things that you need to know section is you need to create a budget. Yes, you need to know how to create a budget. You know, there are a ton of videos out here on YouTube where you can go see how to learn how to budget if you don't have one already. But those are the four things that you really just need to know off of the bat. And so after you know those things, you can jump into these strategies. And so the second thing, and I'm keeping it basic before we move on to more advanced thing. The second thing, you need to cut your spending. And yes, you may be living paycheck to paycheck. Yes, you may feel like you have no room in your budget, but we can all cut our spending. The most of the money that most of us spend in our budget usually goes to housing. And usually we can't cut that, but we can move. But let's say we can't cut that right now. We're in the middle of a pandemic. The second thing that we can all cut is the amount that we spend on food. We can always reduce our food budget. There's usually some luxury items that are in our food budget that we do not need. And so if you can't cut other items, then you can certainly try to cut your food spending. Are you actually living on rice and beans? You know, I don't know. You know. But you need to look into ways to cut your spending, and that will free up cash flow in order to pay off some of your other bills. Okay, let's get into a little more complicated strategies. Okay, the third thing is debt consolidation. This is something that I certainly used when I was paying off my $120,000. There are three types of debt consolidation strategies that I'm going to share with you. The first type is when you do a credit card balance transfer. I certainly did this when I was paying off debt, and the idea is that you take your credit card that has a high interest. Let's say some people have a 15, 20, 25% interest on a credit card, and then you take that amount and transfer it onto another credit card that usually has 0% interest for a 12-month term. You will save hundreds of dollars, especially if you have $10,000 on a credit card, for example. You will save hundreds of dollars a month by making this transfer. Yes, there's usually like a 3% fee, but you'll be saving so much money that it's usually worth it. Like I said, I'm gonna make the distinction between someone that is passively paying off their debt and someone that is aggressively paying off their debt. If you're passively paying off your debt, do not do a credit card balance transfer because it's gonna cost you more money. My rule of thumb here is that you need to be able to pay off whatever balance that you transfer within 9 months. 9 months. Even though they allot you 12 months, you need to be able to pay it off in 9 months. Because the credit card companies know that most people that do a balance transfer would not actually pay the credit card off in time. And then a lot of credit card companies will backtrack you for that interest amount that they didn't charge you for if you don't pay it off completely. On top of that, they will sometimes even double the amount of interest that you had to pay for that period where they were giving you 0 interest. And so make sure you're able to pay this off in 9 months, giving yourself a 3 months cushion in case something happens. And that's why I said if you're aggressively paying off debts, you can do this. But if you're not, it might not be the best thing to consider. The second type of credit card transfers that allows you to pay off debt fast is 0% on purchases. Yes, some credit card companies will allow you to make purchases up to a year with a 0% interest. If you have a good credit score, this is something that is very easy to do. And so I'll link a video on how I was able to get an 800 credit score right here, somewhere up here. And so if you have a good credit score, credit card companies will usually allow you to get a credit card where you can actually make purchases at 0% for an entire year. And what you will do here is, say you usually pay your food in cash. You will take your credit card and purchase your food for $500, for example. And that same $500 that you would have spent on food that you put on the 0% credit card, you will take that $500 and pay down a low interest credit card bill. And so that will also expedite the amount that you're able to pay off. And now so you have 0% interest on this credit card and you're able to pay off the credit cards that you do have interest on faster. The key here is to make sure that you also pay off the credit card that you have a 0% purchasing amount within that 9 months period as well, because you do not want to hold a balance when these promotions go up. Now, if you do not have a good credit score, a lot of credit card companies will allow you around the holiday time, especially Christmas, to get this 0% interest credit card on purchases. And their hope is, and not necessarily their hope, but they know the majority of people that take out these 0% interest credit cards around Christmas time will rack up such a bill that they would not be able to pay it off. But you're not that person. You're the person that is taking out this credit card not to go Christmas shopping, but to pay down your debt. If you're aggressively paying off debt and want to do it quickly, can apply this strategy. There are other forms of debt consolidation, and this is sometimes when people take like their student loan debt and combine it with their credit cards debt for one smaller payments with a smaller interest. I actually do not recommend this type of debt consolidation because any debt, in my opinion, that you cannot pay off in a year is possibly a very bad investment, because a lot of this comes down to behavior, and it's easy to control your behavior within a year. It's easy to control sometimes life that happens to us within a year, but when we're getting in the 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5-year period, which is how long sometimes it takes people to pay down those student loan debts, when you consolidate your loan like that, it may make you feel like you're hopeless in paying it off. And so I do not recommend taking a big student loan and combining it with small credit card loans, but that is an option out there and technically can't allow you to pay off debt faster. Number 4, most effective debt payoff methods. And so you may have heard about the debt snowball before. This is actually popularized by one of the financial gurus, Dave Ramsey. Give him his much due credit for this one. And the debt snowball set is that you order your debts from the lowest amount to the highest amount. So if you have a $100 debt, you tackle that first. And if you have a $10,000 debt, $20,000 student loan, $30,000 student loan, you tackle that last, regardless of what the interest is. And the ideology behind the debt snowball is that financial literacy and eliminating debt is 80% behavior and 20% head knowledge. And so when you're paying off your smallest debt first, this will give you a boost and inspiration to continue your debt-free journey. Now, this is not the fastest method, but it seemed to be one of the most effective methods. One of the fastest methods for paying off debt in this way is the debt avalanche. And the debt avalanche says you order your debt by the level of interest. So if you have a 25% credit card bill, you pay that off first. And if you have a 1% credit card or student loan, you pay that off last, regardless of the actual monetary amount. And we know mathematically the debt avalanche will save you the most money and allow you to pay off your debt fastest. I personally recommend the debt snowball as well, but you can choose which method you prefer and which method you think motivates you the most. If you're someone with a 6-figure or 7-figure net worth, you know one of the keys to building wealth is automation. That same key to building wealth allows you to also pay off your debt fastest. And so I would not have a 6-figure net worth if it was not for automation. And I would not have been able to pay off my 6-figure debt if it was not for automation. Automating your debt payments is as simple as having a specific account that is just for debt. And what happens here is that every month you know how much you want to allocate towards paying off debt. So let's say that is $1,000 that you're going to be allocating to pay off debt. Instead of just having this sit in your checking account with all your other bills, you want to put this money specifically in your debt payoff account. That way, when friends ask you to go out, when you see that money, you know that money is specifically for debt. When you run low on your food budget, you know, don't touch it. That money is specifically for debt. And so when you're automating your debt payoff strategy, you're able to pay off your debt faster because you're able to remain consistent about your debt payments. All right, so that is really key. Like that is one of the things that a lot of people do not do that will significantly increase their chances of paying off debt fast. And I have to include this, and I know a lot of people won't be able to do it, especially during a pandemic, but it's something that I did. And so I always looked for the best deals when it came to renting. Now I owned my own place now, but while I was in debt, I was a renter. And I was very intentional to make sure that I didn't exceed a certain budget amount on my rent. And anytime a place that I live exceeded that specific budget amount on my rent, I moved. Even though that it was not at 33%, it was closer to 20% of my income that I was paying on rent. But I knew that if I wanted to pay off debt fast, then I needed to keep my rent as low as possible. And so even though it may have sucked to move from year to year, I know it would put me in a position to not just pay off my debt fast, not just build a 6-figure net worth, but also one day purchase my own home. And so if you're interested in paying off your debt fast, that is a sacrifice that you may want to make. Making sure your rent stays at a certain amount that you're comfortable with. And that amount would usually be lower than that recommended 33%. The seventh thing, and I know a lot of people may say dot to this one, but it's make more money. And so if you've tried every other tip that I've given you and you're not seeing the type of progress that you would like to see in terms of your debt payoff strategy, consider a side hustle. And I think you should consider a side hustle regardless. There are so many things that you can do in order to make more money within a month. Or to make $100 a week. And I even just did a video not too long ago of how I was able to make, an extra $100 a month on swag bucks. And so there are survey sites, there's delivery service. There are a ton of things that you can do to make $100 a week. And $100 a week amounts to about $4,800. Imagine that you had an extra $4,800 a year to pay towards your debt. How much more quicker would you become debt free? And I'm not even saying that you need to pick up that side hustle for the entirety of your debt payoff journey. For example, I had a side hustle that I was making about $30,000 a year while I was paying off my debt. And I no longer have that side hustle anymore. And it's not because I didn't even enjoy doing that thing. It's because I found other things that I enjoy doing that may not even pay me as much anymore. But now that I am debt free, it doesn't matter as much. And so you just need to pick up that side hustle or that part-time job for that period of time that you're trying to eliminate your debt. Because after that debt is done, you will become so much more freer you can't believe it. Just to finish this off, and this is not even an extra point, but this is just a quick rant. Paying off debt is all about your mindset. Now, if you have a mindset that I can eliminate this debt in a year, 2 years, 3 years, and even though your debt is 6 figures, if you have in your mind that I am going to do what it takes to eliminate this debt, then you will do what it takes and you will eliminate this debt. But if you have in your mind that, this debt, I'm going to have it until I die, then you will have that debt until you die. It's about your mindset. It does not matter how much money you make. I know people that are making $200,000, $300,000 that are rattled with debt, that are feeling anxious about life. And I know people that are making $50,000, $60,000 that have become debt free because they were willing to make the sacrifices to become debt free. Alright family, I hope you found this video to be helpful. I was able to pay off $120,000 in less than 2 years using these very same strategies. And I'm not going to be like one of the infomercial and promise you the same thing. But this is what I do promise it. If you are aggressive about your debt payoff, you're going to hit the objectives that you desire and that you put forward for yourself. And so if you haven't already, definitely smash that like button, subscribe to the page, hit the bell to be notified of when I post something new. And like I always say, even in the midst of this pandemic, remember to live your best life.